Oh, how sweet. They will need each other now. Emily was the rock, so sad. I shut my ears to them. What the hell did they know? It was always the same. People saw one thing and would make their minds up about something they knew nothing about. Is everything set up at the house? Kenny asked, when we were alone in the back of the funeral car. I nodded. The neighbours had all pulled together, led by Claudia, and helped prepare a buffet fit for a queen's send-off. We'll get through it, you know. At least she's not suffering anymore. I couldn't bear seeing her like that. I wanted to remind him he'd not seen much of her suffering anyway. He'd hardly been by her side during the final stages, but I didn't reply. My mother had taught me if I couldn't say anything nice, to keep my mouth shut. Back at our modest home, I was surprised by how many people had actually followed us. I didn't think we'd get them all inside, let alone feed them. But it didn't matter. They were there to pay their respects to my beautiful and funny mother. Nobody would care if they couldn't find a seat. The sound of their voices clamouring together in our dinky, middle-of-the-road terraced house made my head throb. After a few minutes, I slid away to the comfort of my room and curled up on the bed. But Kenny soon clicked I wasn't around and came bursting in, demanding I make an appearance. I had a job to do, and people needed looking after. Reluctantly, I followed him back downstairs. When everybody had gone, Kenny brought in several glasses from the front doorstep and placed them on the kitchen worktop. That was a decent send-off, he said, with a smile. I nodded and continued loading the dishwasher. Look, Mags, you and I are all that's left. We need to support each other. I know. My words were no more than a whisper. We've never been very close, probably down to me, but I'm willing to make an effort if you are. I shrugged and turned my back to him. When I went through to the lounge later, I found him lying on the sofa. Go and get in bed, Mags. It's been a long day. I noticed how pale and tired he looked and realised maybe he was missing Mum after all. Can I get you anything before I go up? I couldn't face another thing, but thanks anyway. He smiled sadly. I'll probably get an early night myself. I heard him trudge up the stairs while I was in the bathroom. His bedroom door was already closed when I came out. Mum had been sleeping in the front room, and so he was used to having the bed to himself. The past few days, since Mum died, I'd felt out of place. Without her, where did I belong? Mum didn't have any family. I was her only living relative and she mine, unless you counted my birth father who'd run out on us when I was barely 6 months old. Without Mum, Kenny wouldn't want me hanging about, cramping his style. I could get a job. I was old enough to legally leave school, although I planned to stay on for sixth form and then, the following year, go to college to take my A-levels. But if need be, I could leave now. We lived in a village called Harley on the outskirts of Manchester, and at a push, I could travel into the city by bus. But if I left school, there would be no reason to stay in the village. I would just look for a bedsit close to wherever the job was. It was thoughts of my future that had got me through the rest of the afternoon. Mum would have been mortified if she'd known my plans, since she'd had big dreams for me. But as far as I could see, I had no choice. In my room, I curled up on the bed and checked my phone, not really expecting any messages. Then, I stalked a couple of the popular girls from school to see how their day had been. This was the extent of my social media activity. However, stalking wasn't really social at all. The few friends I did have had stopped bothering me when Mum had become sick. I was clearly no longer any fun. Mum always told me you soon discover who your true friends are in a crisis. And she was right. Although summer, it was unusually hot for July in the north of England, and the duvet I usually had was in the airing cupboard. I stripped off my clothes and slid between the cool sheets. So that was that. The day we buried my mother had been and gone, and I still hadn't shed one tear. I couldn't believe it had really happened. It was like some kind of awful nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Restless, I decided to go back downstairs and empty the dishwasher. I pulled on my lime green satin pyjamas and padded down on bare feet. Bending over the dishwasher, I didn't hear Kenny.